edit my own videos, and I do edit my videos, although I like to keep the edits very simple and minimal, because I think too many edits disturb relaxation, if it's too choppy, those YouTubers chop every time they say or I take a too long of a pause. The fortunate thing about the ASMR community is you don't have to edit those. In fact, pauses and silence usually triggers tingles in between speaking, so I don't like to edit too much. But with that said, today I wanted to discuss things. I like how that came out. Discuss. Things that I miss from our old world society, just the old world pre-2020. I think we all know what that was like, and just even the old world for me as a millennial. The early 2000s, I was just a child, but that was my favorite part, and I could have biased judgment because of my age at the time. We have a different view of the world. A lot of adults during that time thought, and later millennials included, thought that the world was crap during that time as well. Some people think like the 90s and earlier were the better times, and then once 2000 hit, something just shifted. So, right now, I just wanted to tell you that, yes, I have a website. It is TonyBomboni.com. It helps keep this channel running and flowing smoothly. So, you can book yourself a service on there, but also by booking a service, you're helping support this channel as well. So for that, I thank you. And the links will be in the description below. Please use coupon code TONY2 for 20% off. So, with that said, let me continue. I miss, before people started really misbehaving, acting too crazy, just going to extremes, I think we noticed extremes in like pop music and culture and art ever since, I think, like the 2010s onwards. It started getting more diverse. It started getting more like, not diverse in terms of like people, I'm talking diverse in terms of like out there, far-fetched kind of stuff, And I think I just missed the old world where it was more simple and practical and, even a little boring sometimes, Like, I still remember in the 90s walking through a mall and we got smoothies and McDonald's, and it was just very simple, but you were happy, Even the early 2000s, just going out to a restaurant was actually enjoyable. The food was actually good, These are some things I miss. And I feel like we've all lost our taste buds somehow. I don't know what happened, but like, we're just craving food less, at least in my experience. It's like we don't really think about it too much now. You don't really think about eating too much, right? I feel like we've ascended, or something has shifted where we're more conscious of our body, our health, And I guess I just miss sometimes those like simple physical, like not lusty, what is it called? Things you lust for, though. I guess you would call them lusty temptations, like, bag of potato chips, like, you don't really even think about that anymore, do you? Most of you, right? They don't even sell it or market it the same. It doesn't even taste the same anymore, Potato chips are no longer addicting because of all the mix of chemical formulas they put in there, and like energy efficient stuff that just makes it like, basically they just mix like pea proteins and insects now, apparently, like bioengineered ingredients, and it just doesn't hit the same. It doesn't taste that good anymore. And I think we're going to start noticing this more in the next 5 years to come, if you haven't already. I miss the world before people were forced to take something against their will, or forced to register in a system. against their will. And, I think that was really, really ugly in the last 5 years. And, I think, it seems like people are forced into one ideology nowadays, one belief in particular. I miss a world where people weren't so divided. People weren't fighting over their beliefs. People weren't, stop talking to their families and friends because of something they refused to participate in, And I miss the world where we could just all get along even though we don't all agree with each other. I miss the world where, there was still peace. There was global peace. There were no global conflicts. If there was one, it was just one country in the whole world fighting. It wasn't like 10 different countries fighting, I miss the world where people were not only listening to, the news media, they had a mind of their own, it seemed. Or the news wasn't just constantly clickbait, constantly attention-seeking, and, you could actually listen to reliable sources without worrying if this was, a questionable thing, It was, everyone had their own opinion, every news station had their own take on things, and journalists were actual journalists, unlike today. I miss the world where things didn't happen so fast. You could slow down, you could have boring days, even if, and you remember those days, right, where they were so slow, they were so boring, you really wanted to just, get off this planet. It was so boring. You remember those days. There was nothing on the news, nothing new, nothing exciting, no new advancement. Your life was pretty mundane. It was just same old kind of, it just felt, dull. But then you didn't really appreciate that time because there were also beautiful days where, you did something different. And I still remember this, sitting in the apartment, and I was so bored. I was one exciting thing for me was to go for a walk, or to go do my laundry, or to go grocery shopping. There was so much joy in that and simplicity in that moment. And now it's we need so much more to stimulate our excitement. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we've been desensitized. We've been programmed on a massive scale. And now, you'll get satisfied from a vacation, but then you'll go back home and kind of you're back to, the life you live, and you're always looking for that next exciting thing, that next dopamine rush, right? The next dopamine hit. And not everyone's going through this. I'm just speaking on, what I've been through, and anything I'm saying, it doesn't mean I'm going through it now myself. It just means this is the world today. We are, constantly fed, from your screens, phone, TV, laptop, these things that are marketed to you. And it's even more tempting to grab now that they're very good at, oh yeah, you want to buy that Coca-Cola. They're really good at convincing you, somehow getting you to feel in your taste buds that you're drinking that Coca-Cola, And now with AI, they're very good at targeting you, targeting the audience. Collected your data, and now they know exactly who you are and exactly what to show you, so you're tempted even more to buy that product. And your life is basically a summary of what is shown to you right now, and it is altering it and changing your decision-making process, and thus altering your life as a result. So your life is programmed, and I miss the life before that programming. And we're not consciously aware we are, but God knows what is in our system right now as we speak, because of what we breathe, what we consume, and what we've taken. So, we are basically malleable, we are formed like clay, and that is what it is. And I guess I just miss slowing down, I miss the times where we could just simply slow down, just be, just exist. And how you'd even be approved for a place if it's half your check. But I guess if you're living with other people, for some people it's half your check, and that's just what it is. And where food was so expensive, where everything was so expensive, I miss the world pre-hyperinflation, you know? I miss the world before, you know, a lot of people were, you know, even, I know this sounds weird, but able to work online, because it felt like niche to me, like, you know, I felt like special and important, like, oh, I'm like one of the only ones, you know, so YouTuber, and, you know, at the time, it felt like a big accomplishment to be like, oh, like, I'm doing this full time, I don't need another work, you know, and it still does feel that way, but it's like, now it's different. It's like, now it's so many people doing the same thing, and even on other platforms, and sometimes multiple platforms, and it all feels like, you know, everyone's just now like, you know, greedily just like, not in terms of money necessarily, but just like snatching at the same thing or the same opportunity, you know. Yeah, it seems like everyone's like a virtual LA boy or LA girl, you know what I'm saying? Not saying that like all people from LA, I'm talking like just people who just move there just for opportunity, fame, or success, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like a lot of people are like that now. And just, I miss the world when people would talk to each other, when people would communicate more to each other, you know? So these are some of the things I think about, you know? Chat wasn't just text, it was, you called your friend and they'd chat with you for 4 hours every night, like, you know, like, I miss that. And there was actual genuine connection. People weren't digging their nose on their phone, you know, or addicted to their phone. It's actual genuine interest in communication, you know, genuine engagement, you know, genuine compassion. It seems like people are very flat affect nowadays. Do you notice that? Like, anywhere you go, people are just not really engaging. People are not really empathic for a lot of the time. You know, I'm still seeing some humanity in people, but there's just like that, like, everyone's afraid of getting hurt now, and everyone's holding off or holding back, or their walls are up. I miss the world where people treated each other better. And I just miss the world when people would treat each other better, you know, better customer service, better, you know, healthcare, better. And always, people actually tried hard, people actually put effort. Now everything is low energy, everything is dull, you know. And I've just sort of noticed even like less nature, less birds, you know. It seems like the old world was more glowing, like more color to it, more dimension to it, you know. But there's still a lot of positives, don't get me wrong. I feel like something has shifted lately where it seems like it's coming to a better world in some ways. But, you know, so I can't say, but I guess I miss that, you know. I think we all have that, like, nostalgia, as they say, for, like, oh, I'm just gonna sit there and play on my Game Boy Advance, or, you know, my flip phone keyboard. Those were the best, you know. And you weren't stuck on that thing. It had a screen that didn't bother or hurt your eyes in any way. And, you know, it kind of just glowed. And you could use it even in the middle of the night in the dark without really, like, straining your eyes, you know. Because you just flip it, type to the person that flip it down and put it down. Like, you didn't have any other use for your phone other than to talk to somebody. It was basically an advanced pager. So, you know, it didn't force you to be hooked on it, you know. And I think that's why a lot of Gen Z are actually switching to those kind of phones. Or, like, now there's something with Gen Z, like, oh, they're actively putting their phone down for 2 hours a day. I think I'm going to start doing that, you know. I'm going to start acting like Gen Z because, you know, they're so smart, you know, they're ahead of the game with a lot of things. And so, you know, they know what it is. They know what they're talking about. So, basically, and I think we can all learn lessons from the prior generation, you know. Like, they have something to teach us millennials, and we have something to teach, you know, Gen X, and Gen X has something to teach boomers, you know. And now, like, Generation Alpha is going to teach the Gen Z about some stuff. They're going to have to learn lessons, you know. It's so beautiful the way that happens. You know, it's almost like every generation is just smarter in some ways, you know. But, yeah, so, I don't know. I have an old-fashioned spirit. I have an old soul, I guess. You know, I've lived many lives, supposedly, so, I'm like pencil and paper, baby, you know. Someone tells me something, I'm still very much pencil and paper. You know, I still love to prefer to, when I can get my hands on some, to read a newspaper or like a magazine over like an online article, you know what I'm saying? I don't even watch TV, like, you know, I'm that old-fashioned, because I guess, well, nowadays everything's, you know, and what happened to that too, like schedule programming? I don't know if I miss that too much. You know, everything's like Netflix and stream now, you know, like Peacock and Amazon Video Prime, like whatever, right? Hulu, all that stuff. It took me a long time to like that, I'll be honest with you, you know, because I didn't even watch TV to begin with. But then once I saw how awesome Netflix was, I was like, okay, I can roll with this. So, yeah, but just like everything happening so quick with like AI, and now it's gonna be quantum next, right? It's just too fast. You know, every day is going so quick. And I miss the world where sometimes we could just slow down. You know why I miss it? Because when you're having a bad day, the first thing you ask God is to slow things down, to just have everything pause and freeze for a minute so you can process your emotions. Nowadays, because we're so busy working 2-3 jobs, you know, if you're lucky, you know, God bless you, good for you. Keep blessing other people. But, you know, if you have only one job or you don't need to work, God bless you, like, but please use your money to help people. But other than that, I'm talking to mass majority of people here, like myself, included in this category where we have to work 2-3 jobs, you know, to survive. Basically, what I'm getting at is, or to live comfortably. I don't, you know, I work hard to be comfortable, you know. I'm sure a lot of people do too, you know. You work hard, you work your butts off because you want to live comfortably. You don't want to just get by. You know, a lot of people choose to have one job because they're okay just getting by. To me, that's unacceptable. I want to live good, right? So that's why I push myself to work hard, work my best. But anyway, so my point is, but I miss the world where you don't really have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure in the 90s, you know, I never heard my parents complain about money. You know, when we were living in our tiny apartment, there was always more than enough, you know? We always had our needs met, always went on vacations, always had plates filled with food where we couldn't even finish the food, you know? It was just over abundance, but they lived simply. They lived like maybe lower middle class at the time. When I was a kid, maybe middle class, I would say. But it was still abundant. You know, you still could go to the McDonald's, get like $1 burger, or, you know, like a smoothie for 50 cents or whatever it was, right? Like those simple, practical times, knowing that you had the ability to freely and comfortably without having to think constantly, oh, you know, whenever I go to the store now, I'm like, you know, oh my gosh, like, yes, I really want this, or I really need this, you know. We have human desires, right? I try to hold back nowadays. It's hard to hold back, to cut back, but you know, after you've lived a certain way for so long, sometimes it's hard to, you know, cut back. But, you know, I try my best, and, you know, I try to still live, of course. Certainly, we have to live, right? We're only here temporarily. But, you know, I miss a world where you didn't have to think about that. I remember in 2016, I'm like, I filled my grocery cart for $200. I didn't even think of it. I knew it was just gonna come at $200. You could easily make that back. Now it's like, yeah, you can make that back. But it's like, you constantly have to make it back because there's always the next thing, the next expense. I guess that's what adulthood is, right? So I guess I'm trying to say, you know, I miss where there was like genuine joy from within without, you know, either needing something to deliver you joy, or like with having to do so much healing work to bring joy, like having to work through so many emotions and meditate so much of your thoughts away to bring some sense of joy. As a kid, you're just naturally joyous. You wake up and you're happy, you know, that natural joy. And I think we all did stop feeling that a long time ago, you know. And I think, you know, that's what always people say when you become an adult and later on, like deep into your adult years, your adulthood, you kind of like lose that like brightness in your eyes, or like that life in your eyes, you know, because life is so hard sometimes. And I guess, you know, I'm grateful for every painful experience, but at the same time, you know, it sucks. Life just sucks sometimes. And, you know, I miss work before all of that, before any heartbreak, before any cheating, before any pain, before any, you know, injury to my body, before any, like, before all those tears, before any death and grief and loss in my life and breakups, you know, like the pure essence of who you are, the innocence before all that. That's what I miss. And I think we all miss that, you know, no matter what century we've lived in, what world or decade we've lived in, what generation we are. I think we can all agree that there's always going to be that missing and yearning for the old, the past in some ways. In other ways, you're glad to get out of the past. Don't get me wrong, there's some things I just don't miss. I miss how slow I mean, I don't miss how slow things were back then, you know, like, you know, everything's so quick now and automated. You know, that's another thing I kind of miss though. Like the other day I did a phone call to cancel one of my monthly bills because I'm moving. I just talked to a machine the whole time. It wasn't even a person. Like, and that's becoming more common. And I miss like that human connection. Now you go to the Dunkin', the McDonald's, no one's really, at least in my world, no one's really there to help you. It's all just those kiosks there, and they're a lot faster anyway, so I just got used to doing the kiosks at the register now, and that helps me much quicker than a human. And it seems like, you know, that's just what it is, less human interaction. And that's kind of the world I miss. Also, do you notice when you buy something nowadays, like, let's say you go to the store and you buy artwork, or, you know, you get like $100 worth of things, like, you know, normally you used to feel like all the cashiers like excited for you and they're talking about your purchases and they're like engaging with you. Now it's like, yeah, you're just another transaction, you're just another dollar bill to a corporation. Like, they don't actually make you feel special anymore. It doesn't matter how much you give, you know, they just want you done, next. You're just like a number in their system. And it doesn't have life and purpose and meaning anymore. And it seems like, you know, oh my god, I hope I don't sound depressed. I'm definitely not a depressed person, I promise you. I'm not, but there's so much still to live for. Like, there's so much still joy in life and in my life personally that I find really, like, you know, blessed. And I'm so thankful every day. I count my blessings, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the world we're heading into, it just seems like a lot is getting shrinked down to one major thing. And it feels restricting to your freedom. It feels very limiting, you know. So it's yeah. Like, speed limits are more heavily enforced now, and insurance is just constantly going up. It's just little things, rent's constantly going up. And mortgages are going up because of insurance going up, you know. Like, you know, natural disasters galore. You know, I miss the world when the weather was normal, when there wasn't like mist in the sky, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just normal clouds, normal like blue and white sky, a yellow sun. Hello, a yellow or orangey yellow sun. Where did that go, right? And some people say it's because of all the pollutants in our air from so many jets and so much pollution from our car. They're saying it's like creating an illusion that the color is allegedly changing. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not here to claim I know anything. I don't know anything about that. But it's interesting to note, you know, like, I miss, you know, where you didn't have to be on your phone to take pictures. You could just pull out that stupid yellow square thing from CVS, Walgreens. Psh, that's it. You put it back. You don't think about it, you know. And you didn't even have to, like, worry if it looked good. You just, the excitement of knowing you'll see your picture printed out later, it gave you a rush, a natural high, you know. The dopamine was better back then than now, you know. You could go out with family and go mini golfing with friends, and you just have such a good time, you know. It's just genuinely like, I don't know, just things seem so like dull and flat nowadays. Like, its vibrancy is gone in some weird way. But yeah, I don't know. That could be a chemical reaction in my brain perceiving life a certain way through the universe I live. But, you know, it's just something I'm observing, right? And even art is like very flat now. It's very like, oh, let me not trigger somebody. Let me not be, let me be too sensitive. It's almost too controlled now. Like even comedy is no longer what it used to be. It's very much like here's an example, like, here's what I think about dogs. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, for those who are not dog owners, this joke is not for you. And those who don't like dogs, and you meat eaters out there, shame on you. Like, it's very much like, okay, like, we get it. Like, you're gonna offend somebody eventually. Like, calm down, okay? Like, my brother did comedy in Chicago, and he quit. He got so ticked off because he couldn't say this word, he couldn't say that, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. He's like, what's the point? Comedy is gone. So he stopped. He just threw in the towel. It's like, what's the point? When it's not even going to be funny, it's just going to be flat, So, I definitely laugh a lot less at comics nowadays than I used to. It's not funny anymore. It's just not. And, everything feels so more dystopian with each passing day. I think we haven't seen anything yet, honestly. But, we're about to. Oh boy, buckle your fasten those seatbelts, okay? The next 4 years are gonna be, whoa. But anyway, but I miss that. I miss not waiting for a deadline, not waiting for a certain year. It all seems like everything's gonna come to that culmination point, that point, where that year where it's like, this is it, and from here there's no looking back. That what they call event horizon or singularity. Like, we're all just waiting on that, like, inevitable doom, but also at the same time blessings, which is so weird. It's like, who's going to be blessed from this? We don't know, because it's so unpredictable, So I miss not having so much unpredictability. I miss knowing that if I invest this much in the stocks, this is how much I expect to have by retirement. Not the confusing, because of this and this global conflict in this situation, like, you may or may not have this much. It's like, it makes you like question everything. Nothing is traditional anymore. I miss where, I mean, I guess the only thing I don't miss is, like, now it seems like no one has to really go to college anymore, where before it was like you really had to, so that part I'm glad that that's over. Like, yeah, you don't have to go to college, good for you, like, don't go, like, you know what I'm saying? But if you want to go, fine, good, I'm glad for you too. Like, it should be like that, but I'm just thinking about a lot, how much has changed, since our last world, our old world to the new world. And I really think this is what people like Dolores Cannon and all them people, spiritual guru folk, some people get too carried away with this 5D stuff. I try not to listen to too much of it because everyone has a different opinion. But, this is the 5D we're in. Literally, the old world is 3D, right? The new world is 5D. We're in this, to be able to have the vibration of things like quantum and AI and all this time happening fast. It's a higher vibration, so it has to be in the fifth dimension, which we're entering, right? It cannot survive in that lower 3 dimension. So we're slowly shifting into that 5D, and it's a gradual shift, right? I mean, we've been through it for less, I think, over 20 years now. We have maybe about 20 more years of that to go before it's like fully transitioned. But, it's supposed to happen gradually, but now we're kind of halfway-ish. So it's creating the illusion that it's getting faster because we're approaching quicker to that new dimension. Does that make sense? But there's still that, like, grieving of the old world. There's still that sadness. Sometimes I still feel that grief. Sometimes I'll randomly be crying because I'm, like, missing that old world. It's hard to explain. But, this is kind of what I have been reminiscing upon today for a video idea. I'm like, what am I going to film today? Oh, this is a good idea. And I'm never going to stop opening my mouth and speaking about this stuff, even if it's too far out there for some folk, with some different beliefs in their heads, and we all have a different soul journey, a soul experience. So I'm really grateful that I'm here experiencing this and experiencing the growth that this level of shift requires, because this is the first time a planet is having this level of a shift, advancing this quickly. And I think, the more conscious we are, the more questions we ask, and the uglier it gets sometimes. But also, you notice the beauty in that ugly, It's hard to explain. But, you know, sometimes I miss simplicity, period. I think that's the theme. Like, just where we didn't have to intellectualize, we didn't have to question everything, we didn't have to doubt, we didn't have to critically think so hard. We could just let things be because that's how we were used to things. That's the old way, the old world, old system. And that's what we're, you know, identifying as normal. But now because that old system is crumbling, that old world is washing away as we speak, it's going to get ugly, it's going to collapse, and it's going to, you know, trigger a lot of ugliness in this world. I don't mean like physical beauty ugly, I'm talking like just like bad events, period, you know? It's gonna get ugly, that's what I mean by it. So, but on the other side of that ugliness, there's beauty, like I said. So once that old world goes away, and it's very stubborn, it's like, you ever have those plants, I don't know what they're called, those little like sharp, they're like a ball with spikes on them, and they stick to your skin and clothing, and they hurt very much. I think they have them more down here in like Florida and the Caribbean. Ooh, you step on one of those, it's so painful. It, like, you scream, you can't help but scream, it's so painful. That's what the old world is like, stuck on you, and we're slowly ripping it away, and it's painful. But this is the representation of what we're experiencing now. And once that pain is over, there's beauty, there's healing, right? So some people are already there, already on their healing journey, far ahead of the game, you know, already understanding so much. But, you know, I just, again, miss the whole world where, you know, not everything requires a tablet to log in or a screen handed to you to check in to this place, you know. Like, it's gone to the point where you don't even go to the front desk of the hotel anymore. You just bloop, digital check-in. Like, it's too quick, it's too easy, it's too convenient, you know. That's what I question sometimes. Again, maybe I'm just old, traditional in my way, in my sense. But why is it, you know, almost like forced upon us so quickly, so suddenly, right? What is the rush? You know, you have to think and question, right? Because we're in this situation where it's like, what is the push? Yes, it has greatness to it, it has advancement to it, but it's like, is it so great when there's other, you know, downsides to that new versus the old system, right? So, yeah, but I also feel like I miss the whole world where people are less hateful, you know, less hate comments, less just, I see so much like hate, like people's Instagram comments and reels, and it's like, you know, this mom's just trying to cook her kids a meal and she's doing the best she can with her knowledge, and people are just hating on like it, and like there's always this fight for like, oh, I'm better than you, like the ego fight now. It's like, oh, thank God I live in this country, thank God I don't eat like that. It's like, okay, but you have other things in your country that suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have it all that great either. You know, why are you judging this American mom for making an American meal? You know, who cares where you live, right? It's always like, oh, thank God I live in Turkey, thank God I live in Greece. Okay, yeah, I'm sure your country's great, but it has its downsides too, just like any other nation. You know, it's like, it's so hateful, it's so egoic, it's so narcissistic. I miss the world before people were very much, it seems like half of people are just narcissists nowadays, you know? And I notice this in myself sometimes too, and that's why I have to keep myself in check constantly, you know? It pays to be self-aware, it really does. But anyway, you know, it's just like, because like one person hurt another person, and hurt people, and that's why we're here today, because there's so many hurting souls walking around thinking a shopping spree is going to help them feel better, instead of, you know, booking that therapist or that counselor or whatever, you know, booking a spiritual service or something, right? Like, or just sitting down and meditating, you know, it can be free, it doesn't have to cost money to get better, right? Although, you know, you can argue and say, yeah, it helps you get better faster if you spend money, fine, whatever, but you know what I'm saying. Like, people just run to get that thing in their, pop that thing on their tongue and to feel better, instead of just working through it and sitting through it, you know, instead of just constantly hurting people. They're just like, it's almost like a lot of people just still don't want to do the work, don't want to do the hard work, you know. They think, I'm just going to do this and it's going to be an easy, simple fix, and then it just, you know, yeah. So that's the world I miss. I miss you know, that world, if that even exists anymore. And I believe in the power of timelines. I believe in different dimensions. So if you believe the same, you know that there's so many different worlds in between those worlds as well. And this universe has so much complexity to it that what world am I really grasping for? What world am I really missing? You know? So, yeah. I guess that's my talk today about the whole world. Thank you guys for listening. Maybe you could resonate or agree in the comments below. Give me your opinion. Give me your take. And again, if you'd like to support my line of work, please support me on Bomboni.com. And I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.